Today we continue with Mr. Byens, and this time it's Mr. Byens meeting with three friends of his with these wonderful names, Mr. Hold the World, Mr. Moneylove and Mr. Save All. And today we listen in to their conversation. And it's a conversation that might at first sound not relevant to us, but it really is. Firstly, it might not sound relevant to us because it's put in such blunt, stark terms. So, for example, Byens says, hopeful and Christian are for risking it all for God, whereas I would grasp every advantage to secure my life and property. Christian and hopeful are all for holding on to their beliefs even though all other men oppose them, but I'm for religion that's tolerant of the times and not a threat to my safety. Christian and hopeful are for religion when it's dressed in rags and is considered contemptible, but I'm for parading my faith in front of others when things are going well and receiving praise. And it's also obviously like the Pharisees and so obviously wrong that we say, well, what has that got to do with us? But he may be putting just more bluntly and starkly attitudes that we could be in danger of having, and we need to watch out for that. Are we like Mr. Byens, and we're following Christ when it fits the world, but we take a detour when actually Christ's way and the world's way part company, or when following Christ becomes very uncomfortable or unpopular? It's put starkly and bluntly, but we need to ask ourselves if we could be in some ways like Mr. Byens. Now, a second way that their conversation might seem not relevant to us is because its context was one where going to church and even becoming a minister could be a route to getting richer and mixing with the elites of society and getting influence, and we're obviously not in that situation, and so it might not seem relevant to us, but it does still have relevance because we can still have their attitudes, and we must watch out for having the same pursuits and ambitions as the world, and then moulding our Christianity to fit in with them. We must also see how because they wanted to follow the world, that was their heart, but they also wanted to look religious. They found verses from the Bible that suited them, or at least they could twist into justifying their way of living. So they took, for example, the verse, God gives us richly all things to enjoy, and used that to override the importance of self-denial and generosity. They took Job saying about people storing up gold like dust and used that to excuse amassing large savings instead of giving and trusting God. They found verses while their heart was well out of line with the thrust of the Bible. And notice how easily Christians showed that up by just giving some bad examples from the Bible, by which I mean examples of bad people like the Pharisees, and saying, look how like them you are being. Notice how easily Christian spots it because he's soaked in God's word. The question for us then is, are you reading the Bible enough to detect when something that may sound plausible goes against the thrust and tone of the Bible? Or to put it another way, have you got enough of an ear for the Bible's melody that you notice when something is out of tune with it?